Well, good morning, Dharma friends. I hope you learned a little bit listening to the children's message. We're going to expand on that theme a little bit for this message. So will you please put your hands together and join me in Gasho. This is from an 800-year-old letter written by our founder, Shinran Shonin, to fellow Nembutsuge follower, Shoshinbo. May there be peace in the world, and may the Buddhist teachings spread. Namo Amidabutsu, Namo Amidabutsu, Namo Amidabutsu, Namandabutsu, Namandabutsu, Namandabutsu. How's everybody doing today? Wonderful. How many of you were here or spent some time here last weekend? Yeah, just a little bit of time, yeah. We had this little thing known as the Obon Festival. I got to tell you, for this being the very first time that Karen and I both saw how Obon is done in Portland, we were completely blown away. I mean, people try to tell us how big of a deal it is here. And, you know, we think back on our time in Arizona and, you know, and how Obon was done there. And we thought it was a pretty big deal there, but we were not prepared for how awesomely amazing it was here in Portland, Oregon. So it was just absolutely incredible to see so many people turn out, not just from the temple, but also the community. I can't think of a better way to share our joy and pleasure and our gratitude for having the Dharma in our lives than getting out there and dancing with a bunch of people. So it was just fantastic. I also know that it took a lot of work for that to be pulled off. So I obviously cannot thank everybody by name, but I want to thank all of you for all the hard work that you did. And because of that, let's give ourselves a little round of applause. Okay, however you want to do it. You pat yourselves on the back. It's okay. All right. So we only have, 51 weeks before the next one. So get ready. So also yesterday, a few of you came out to a special event that was held at the Dharma Rain Zen Center. Just a little bit, I think. Let me get my bearings to see. That's Powell over there. That's Powell, right? So it was over there, just a few miles down the road. It was the Portland Buddhist Festival. And I have never been to an event like this before in my life. I thought it was really incredible to see all these Buddhist traditions come together as one giant collective Sangha to, you know, demonstrate our appreciation in encountering the Buddha Dharma in our lives. And there were a lot of people there, too, that just heard about it and showed up. So, you know, our temple put together a little booth. Christine, thank you very much for all the hard work you did on that. Appreciate it. We also had many other people come and help out. So for those of you who were there, thank you. But it was just so engaging and an opportunity to kind of just share a little bit about what Jodo Shinshu is and also the Oregon Buddhist Temple. So many people came out. So good job on that, too. So go ahead, pat yourselves on the back if you're there. Yeah, okay. Anyway, it's been a busy couple of weeks, hasn't it? So as we move towards the end of summer and the start of fall, OBT has several other fun events planned. So please be sure to listen carefully to the announcements at the end of service and check out the temple calendar so you don't end up suffering from a sense of FOMO. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with what FOMO is, it's fear of missing out. So I don't want anyone to feel like they're missing out. And I know that one of the events that's coming up for the temple is on October 25th. Who would like some brownie points? What happens on October 25th? Sukiyaki. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. But there is one more thing I'd like all of you to save the date for. The date is September 21st. Is anyone familiar with this date? No. Okay. Well, September 21st is the International Day of Peace. Does this ring a bell for anyone? The International Day of Peace was established in 1981 by the United Nations General Assembly. 20 years later, in 2001, the General Assembly unanimously voted to designate the day as a period of nonviolence and a day of ceasefire. Given how things seem to be in our world right now, we can certainly use less violence and more opportunity for ceasefires. Every year on September 21st, this special day begins at the Peace Bell in Washington, D.C. And this Peace Bell was donated by the United Nations Association of Japan. And it's traditionally rung twice every year. Once on the International Day of Peace and the second time on the first day of spring, or the vernal equinox. And as Jodo Shinshu Buddhists, this latter ringing is known as Ohigan, and we hold a special service commemorating the gift we've received from Amida Buddha from bringing us from this shore of suffering, which includes seemingly endless violence and war, to the other shore of enlightenment. So it seems appropriate that the bell is also rung on that day. In addition to the ringing of this bell, the International Day of Peace has a different theme each year. And this year's theme is investing in peace. This means peace for everyone, everywhere, and every day. For those who know about investing, it requires something to be given first before you can reap its rewards. As such, for this year's theme, grassroots peace builders are being honored. Although I've only been in Portland for a very short 4 weeks and 2 days, I'm aware of the presence and tremendous effort of several community grassroots organizations have made to promote peace in our neighborhoods and in the world. In fact, next week, Sudo for Solidarity will be holding a march to the local ICE detention facility to express their wishes for the federal incarceration of people and families, many of them innocent, to end. For those of you who may not know about Sudo for Solidarity, Sudo is a Japanese word for crane. That's the bird, not the big construction piece that lifts things up and down. Cranes are a symbol of peace in Japanese. So it makes sense that we should honor the work of this critically important grassroots agency during this year's International Day of Peace. So I'd like to share just a little bit more about this agency if you're unfamiliar with them. Sudo for Solidarity is committed to preventing the horrible, misguided, and frankly, racist decision of our federal government to imprison people of Japanese ancestry in concentration camps during World War II from being repeated. That's their mission. And yet here we are in 2026, and history is repeating itself in America. Politics aside, this is not a political Dharma message, so politics aside, this cannot be denied as we see and hear of countless people being rounded up, held in unsafe and sometimes unhealthy detention facilities, and deported, sometimes to countries they have never had the personal history with. My wife Karen, as a teacher, has known families personally who have been deported back to Mexico and other countries who never even really lived there. They may have been small children when they were born there and came to the United States, so they have no familiarity whatsoever with these countries they're going back to. But these deportations don't just include criminals. We know now that it includes many people, families, children, legal immigrants, and yes, even American citizens, just because they may look different, speak a different language, and or live a culture that is different, or should we say alien, from what we erroneously refer to as mainstream Americans. This is why the mission of Sudo for Solidarity is so critically important. So this year's Day of Peace theme goes further by calling on all of us to take daily individual and collective actions towards global harmony and justice. Just like if we can thoroughly practice the golden chain every day. Do you remember that I mentioned the idea about investments and costs? Well, this is where it comes in. If we find that we can no longer tolerate what is happening in our communities, we need to be a part of the solution in whatever way we are able to. Even the smallest things can count. About this year's theme of investing in peace, the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres noted that peace is not just made at conference tables, but in classrooms, neighborhoods, and everywhere people meet with open minds and open hearts. Together, day by day, we can build a more just world with compassion, equality, and dignity for all. This sounds like something that a Buddhist would say. Creating peace in our world starts with us. You, me, our children who were here earlier. It starts with everyone. So what can happen if we don't make an effort to promote peace and engage in peace work? What can happen? Well, history is full of examples of when we have failed to do to. So please let me give you another example from the same time frame as the imprisonment of people of Japanese ancestry by the American government. Does anyone know what the significance of this past Thursday was? What was the significance?
The dropping of the atomic bombs on Japan.
Yeah, the dropping of the atomic bomb on Hiroshima, Japan. It was the 81st anniversary of the dropping of the bomb. It was the world's first intentional detonation of a nuclear bomb over a city. Today is August 9th, which makes it the 81st anniversary of the second time our country used a nuclear bomb against fellow human beings. And this time it was the city of Nagasaki. In both cases, the vast majority of people who were killed and injured were civilians, not military members. So please, everyone, just real quick, take a look around the Hondo. Just take a quick look. Look at each other. They were people just like you and me. At 11:02 a.m. on August 9th, a B-29 bomber dropped a nuclear bomb named Fat Man over Nagasaki. It detonated as an airburst just above a tennis court. Something that many of us can probably relate to. I'm sure we've all seen a tennis court. And the explosion of this bomb's shock waves were amplified by all the surrounding hills, so the explosion itself was contained in a very small area. And in an instant, 40,000 people were vaporized. By the end of the year, more than 30,000 more would die due to radiation exposure or other horrific injuries. That's 70,000 people gone from this world, along with all their descendants, future potential, all because, as a species, we weren't doing enough peace work. Both Hiroshima and Nagasaki are what can happen when we fail to intentionally work towards peace that includes each and every one of us making some kind of an effort. So you remember the peace bell? I find it both amazing and a little incomprehensible that Japan would gift it to the United States following the war. But I truly believe that it was their way of attempting to both promote peace and acknowledge their part in creating suffering in the world during the years around World War II. I also find it significant that the gift was given in 1951. 1951, just a few years after World War II, but also in the middle of the Korean War. Perhaps it was Japan's way of wishing that the war would end so no one else would suffer the fate of the citizens of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Obviously, most individuals can't donate a large bell as a symbol of a wish for peace. So how can we, living in 2026, make our own investment within our communities to demonstrate the peaceful world that we all wish to live in? For me, the answer lies in one of my most favorite Japanese words, kokoro. Are you familiar with this word, kokoro? It really doesn't have an exact English equivalent. Kokoro is something within each individual human being. And it roughly translates to the heart, mind, and spirit of a person. It's an encompassing term for a person's inner life, representing the unity of emotions, thoughts, feelings, and the whole being. When we lead our thoughts and actions through being aware of it and truly reflecting on our kokoro, we naturally become more empathetic, kind, and peaceful human beings. It's said that the late Mother Teresa of the Catholic Church once stated that peace and war begin at home. I feel that this is also the same as saying peace and war begin within one's kokoro. Mother Teresa's point is that worldwide love and charity begins with those who are closest to us. And from a Buddhist standpoint, this is in line with the Buddhist practice of metta, which means cultivating loving kindness, friendliness, and goodwill towards others. But it must first begin within each of us before we can extend it outwards to include those that we even perceive to be our enemies. Metta is essentially recognizing that we cannot do peace work on behalf of others until we nurture peace within ourselves or within our kokoro. And it's somewhat easier to do this when we recognize that most people crave the same things as each of us does, despite the things that some politicians, influencers, entertainers, and news media say to try to distract us from this reality. So some of those things could be living in a safe home, in a safe neighborhood, having enough food to eat and clean water to drink, having a healthy place to send our children to school, having friends and know that we can just walk outside and have nothing to worry about. It really shouldn't be this hard to nurture our inner peace and promote this to the world. And yet, we are, after all, bonbu, foolish and imperfect. And it's our bonbu nature that makes it hard for us to develop our peaceful kokoro and practice metta on our own. And so this is why we turn to the calling voice of Amida Buddha. Amida Buddha, who is constantly reminding us through Namo Amida Butsu to let go of trying to be perfect in this life. Amida Buddha, who is constantly reminding us through Namo Amida Butsu that one day, when our time in this life is at an end, we will be born as Buddhas to return to this world to guide others towards a life of peace. Speaking for myself, having been in the military at one time, I found the more I've encountered the Buddha Dharma, but also just people who crave those same things that we all crave and recognize that other people crave those things too, I feel I have become a slightly more peaceful person. And I credit a lot of that to the Buddha Dharma and the Sanghas that I get to be with. When we come to truly accept this with our whole being, our kokoro, our inner self, this naturally softens us towards others. Enough so that we can try to do whatever peace work we are capable of doing. In a Jodo Shinshu context, the kokoro is expressed as shinjin. It is our entrusting of Amida Buddha to take us to our future Buddhahood, as well as the negation of our calculative thinking that we can produce a solution for world peace all on our own. It's just too much. And we need to recognize this. And this is why we settle our kokoro with shinjin, the gift given to us by Amida Buddha. From the kokoro as a shin perspective, we do what we can in this life to promote peace within ourselves and in our communities. But also, we are capable of genuinely understanding our limitations towards the ultimate goal of world peace. And that's totally okay. It's okay to recognize those limitations and be honest with ourselves about them. It is through our collaborative working between Amida Buddha and ourselves that we begin to truly understand what we are, who we are, and what we are not capable of doing in this life. Although it may seem like a dichotomous collaboration between the Buddha and us, when we recognize the active working of Shinjin in our lives, we find that it is also a non-dichotomous relationship with Amida Buddha. In other words, we find the Buddha reminding us through Namo Amida Butsu that it's totally fine and appropriate to do what we can to work towards peace in this life, while gently but firmly reminding us that we must let go of our egotistical thinking that we must do good and peaceful things in order to become Buddhas. That is why the golden chain is a reminder. It's a guide. But we can't be perfect all the time. The other version of golden chain, which I really like, says, I will try to think pure and beautiful thoughts. I will try to say pure and beautiful words, and I will try to do pure and beautiful deeds. I think that captures the human spirit right there, and that's very Jodo Shinshu, understanding that we will try, but we will not always be perfect, and that is okay. It is Amida Buddha, through Namo Amida Butsu, that is leading us to Buddhahood. And it's when we become Buddhists that we'll join in the great oneness of all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who are actively working towards world peace. I know it seems hard right now, and it feels like history is repeating itself, and in many ways it is, but this is also new history, and I'm seeing people speak out and doing peace work. And over time, the world has gotten slightly better and slightly better across the centuries. So we have to also remember that. We've made it through difficult times. So on this 81st anniversary of Nagasaki, and as we count down the weeks to September 21st for International Day of Peace, I want to leave us all with this thought. Working towards peace doesn't ask us to be perfect peacemakers. It only asks us to keep returning to our kokoro. And maybe that looks like showing up when Suru for Solidarity marches next week. Maybe it looks like something much smaller and quieter, like smiling at a stranger or choosing patience with someone in our own household when we'd rather react in anger. Whatever size we're capable of, when we let Amida's calling voice soften our kokoro, that peace has a way of rippling outward to our sangha, to our neighborhoods, and yes, even to the whole world. So on September 21st, when the peace bell rings, I hope each of us can carry a little of that intention with us, not because we've earned it or perfected it, but because Amida Buddha has already embraced us exactly as we are and asks nothing more of us than that we keep trying. So let us close the way we began this morning with a wish for a peaceful world and with gratitude to Amida Buddha. Will you please put your hands together and join me in Gasho? Again, these are the words of our founder, Shinran Shonin. May there be peace in the world, and may the Buddha's teaching spread. Namo Amida Butsu, 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 Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you, Dharma friends.